So, Brother Faruq, thank you so much for coming to the show.
To be in these places at the time that. So yeah, I'm in the right place at the right time.
Hear what's happening now? I told you the Jamaican accent was gonna come out. I'd love to be able to name all the bands, and I can't. But I know I'm gonna miss.
You've been called selfless, you've been called kind, loving, all kinds of stuff. We know you're passionate about. Talk about your little 10-month-old son.
Yeah.
Talk about that, your pride and joy, of course.
I love my son. His name is Jawari, and he was born on Christmas Day. He's
wow. Welcome to PEP Talk. I am Rosie Peppy Parke, your host, and today's guest is Brother Faruq Muhammad, who is the Counsel General of the UNIA-ACL. So, Brother Faruq, thank you so much for coming to the show.
It is a pleasure for me to always be with you.
Okay. And so, first of all, a lot of people out there, they don't know what UNIA-ACL means. Can you just tell us what that means?
All right. I'm glad you asked. It's Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. Often we ask the question, since we're in the 21st century, why do we still use the word Negro? And it's very clear because the legacy that has been left for us by the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey and the founding parents of the UNIA left a lot of the legacy in that name. So as we are restoring it and putting it in the 21st century concept, we have to continue to, for legal reasons, to maintain that name. And for example, we have restored a land claim in Belize where over 500 acres of land was willed to the UNIA back in the 1920s by Sir Isaiah Morter. There's no way we could have perfected that claim if we had used a different name. And the case that went that was litigated, that went up to the Privy Council court in England, was in the name of Universal Negro Improvement Association. So maintaining that legacy has, for a lot of legal reasons, been the best course to choose.
Okay, so how long have you been with the UNIA? And prior to becoming Counsel General, did you hold any other positions?
Wow, I've been a Garveyite now for over 40 years. Ever since I can remember reading anything about Marcus Garvey, I knew that he was a person that I admired and respected and wanted to embrace that legacy. I've been a dues-paying member for about 20 years. The Counsel General going on about 5 years.
5 years. And so, for those of you who don't know who Marcus Garvey is, he's one of Jamaica's national heroes. And I'm sure you're not Jamaican because I'm not hearing an accent. So tell us how you, as an American, I assume, I mean, I know you're an African, but as a person living in the United States, how did you get wind of this association that was started by Marcus Garvey, and why did you decide to become a member?
Okay. For most people, they're not aware of the fact that Marcus Garvey came to the United States. For historical reasons, he was traveling all over the world, actually looking for the presence of the government of black people, for black people. He wanted to meet with Booker T. Washington. And when he got here, he saw that there was a very strong, intense desire for black awareness, for black activism. And so he established the UNIA Incorporated up in New York. And from that point on, the chapters, the divisions spread all over America. And so he had a strong, very strong base here and maintained that until he was actually exiled by this government.
Okay, and so the UNIA-ACL, is that a non-profit organization or is it for profit?
Well, now the UNIA Incorporated up in New York is a non-profit entity. The UNIA-ACL is not registered as a corporation under any entity because we assert our own sovereignty. Okay. So therefore, you don't register under another government.
Okay, and how many, if someone wants to join, how many chapters of the UNIA do you have, and how can persons go about joining this association?
Okay, now the best way to answer that question is that they would have to subscribe to the Garvey's Voice and get the listing of the various divisions and chapters all over the world. Because I can't give you the exact number, but I also can direct you to our presence. We have a web presence with the Collective Black People's Movement. They can go to cbpm.org and get contact information. You can contact the headquarters or any local division that you can get a number for, and they will direct you for the division in your area, the nearest one in your area. If there's none in your immediate area, information is available on how to establish your own division.
Okay, and you mentioned the Garvey's Voice, which I have right here in my hand, and this is a publication of the UNIA-ACL, and you also mentioned establishing a black government. And I'm just going to read something from an article that Faruq did back in, I think, December, when you were having the Kwanzaa event. And then I want you to talk a little bit about this new move where you're going, because it's all about dual citizenship. So it goes, and this is in quotes by Brother Faruq Muhammad himself. He says, "For as long as I live, I will never forget that day, December 27, 2009, when I proudly stood next to our President General, Senghor Baye, as we ushered in a new day for the UNIA. That day, the UNIA-ACL became the first entity, again, the UNIA-ACL became the first entity in the 21st century and also the first entity in the world to establish and offer citizenship to black people." Faruq, that's a big, tall, and long order. You're the first black organization. You're the first in the world to do this. Tell me about this whole movement towards citizenship for black people.
The answer to the question is two parts here. One, we have to go back to August of 1920, when more than 25,000 black people from all over the world gathered together in Madison Square Garden, and during the entire month of August, put their heads together and came up with a Declaration of Rights for the Negro peoples of the world. And what this did was identify to all the governments that had been established at that time what we wanted our government to look like, how we wanted our citizens to be treated. And in that declaration was the fact that we embrace the entire continent of Africa. We consider ourselves to be citizens of the entire continent of Africa, that we considered ourselves, our government, to be non-territorial, that it was global in nature. So this was the first time in modern history that any such government had been established. And from that day up until December 27, 2009, that was the only reference that black people had of such a government. Now that legacy has been restored. And we have, again, notified the world that we have ushered into the 21st century and beyond a global black government.
Okay, and let's talk about that event on December 27, 2009. That was your annual Kwanzaa event. And at that event, you also had persons who became citizens of the UNIA.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about that whole process. If someone wants to be a part of this black government, what do they need to do? And then also, how many people became actual citizens of this new black government?
All right, not sure the exact number at that time, December 27, 2009. The emphasis here was on the President General and key members of the parent body, his cabinet, being a part of this historical movement. We will be repeating that again on December 27th of 2010. This will be the second such move of its kind, where the remaining leadership will come across as citizens. What we want the world to know is that we have created this alternative for all of those who wish to become a part of an independent black state. It does not mean that you've given up any citizenships wherever you're at. Does not mean that you will be in any type of legal jeopardy with any country because you have embraced citizenship with the UNIA. Our legal department has already done the research on that. There is no threat or problem with this. What a person needs to do is obviously to contact the UNIA and take out membership in the UNIA. You have to then go through a two-phase process. One is a nationalization, and the other one is a naturalization. The nationalization pretty much speaks for itself. You cannot be a citizen of a nation that you know nothing about. So you have to learn how the government was established, how it evolved, because for almost an 8-year period, it was a fully functional government. And you have to know that, and you have to know how it was restored and where we're going. Then you have to participate in a naturalization process where you take an oath of citizenship and a pledge to our flag. Most people tend to marginalize what the red, black, and green stands for. That is the symbol of our government. It's not a cultural icon. It's not a commercial icon. It's just like anybody else's flag, a symbol of the government.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm a little confused, and maybe some other persons would be confused. So, they're going to become a citizen of the UNIA-ACL, correct?
That is correct.
Is that tied to any particular country? Like, is it, I mean, I know we all have this whole premise that all blacks are from Africa. Are you working with any countries that people can say, okay, I'm a citizen of UNIA and I represent, for example, Ghana or Nigeria? Does it work like that?
No, not like that. What you will be is a citizen of the UNIA. Now, if you want to pursue the dual citizenship, program that we have established, that is another matter. Currently, where we're at with the development of this is we have established coalitions with significant national and international organizations and individuals to form a movement for dual citizenship. So it's not just the UNIA-ACL that's a part of this, but that the governments of Africa see that this is Africans all over the world from outside of Africa saying we want to reconnect from a legal perspective. This is going to really take shape and form in the year of 2011. So this program for Kujichagulia Night, which stands for self-determination. We want people to understand that we're going back to the root of self-determination, meaning full and complete self-determination, because the UN has issued a declaration that 2011 will be the year of African descent. And so with the AU and the UN working collectively here, we're going to embark upon a very aggressive program. We have identified at least 10 governments who already either have on the books laws for dual citizenship, or they're open to discuss the establishment of that with us. Okay,
and you know, it's a little bit, it might be a little bit much for you to understand the whole premise of it, because it's still in its embryonic stages. Yes. But more importantly, a big foundation called the Sullivan Foundation, the Leon Sullivan Foundation, you have their endorsement in the way of their policies and programs manager. So how has it been working with a giant who does a lot of these trips every year, conferences to the motherland? I've been on 2. And what is it like working with him in advance in the work of the UNIA to get this dual citizenship on the road?
It has really been an inspiration to work with Brother Gregory Simpkins and the Sullivan Foundation. What most people are not aware of is that Reverend Leon Sullivan himself was one of the first persons to issue this call for dual citizenship when he was representing the Sullivan Foundation in Africa. He himself was able to secure several citizenships with different countries. So it became a part of the Sullivan Foundation mission to pursue this on a level where it's not just dignitaries or celebrities that are able to get this, but the average person of African descent is able to accomplish this task as well. So knowing that the UNIA and other organizations wanted to work in this area, we formed a task force that has been very successful so far.
Okay, that's excellent. So I have one final question on UNIA, because we have some other stuff to talk about with Brother Faruq, personal challenges that all of us go through. In the second segment, we'll go to that. But the last question is, why should anyone join the UNIA?
Well, I think that joining the UNIA means that you have a government that is interested in you as a African, as a black person. Quite frankly, there are no governments currently in existence that can say that race first is the prime directive for the laws of that government. They have many other things to consider. Ours is race first. And so, and then also it's about the confraternity. We embrace all of our black people, no matter where if you're black Chinese, if you're black Brazilian, if you're black Canadian, you have a place with the UNIA. Many governments will not offer that umbrella to you. We can.
Okay, and so if you want to be a part of the UNIA-ACL, the website is www.unia-acl.org. You can also reach them through the Collective Black People's Movement, which is www.cpbm.org. When we come back, we'll have a candid talk with Brother Faruq about a rare form of cancer that he has, which has really turned his world upside down. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Again, you're watching PEP Talk, and my guest this evening is Brother Faruq Muhammad of the UNIA-ACL. And in the first segment, Brother Faruq spoke a lot about his work with the UNIA-ACL, and the second segment is the tougher one, because he found out recently that he has a rare form of cancer called chordoma. According to Wikipedia, chordoma is a rare, slow-growing malignant neoplasm thought to arise from cellular remnants of the notochord. And I don't know what a notochord is. And I mean, some of you might not know. So I'm just going to ask Brother Faruq to explain what is chordoma.
All right. To answer the question about chordoma, first of all, we have to realize that this is not the type of cancer that most people are aware of. Mm-hmm. It's not in the cancer encyclopedia books. So I had to go on the internet to get some information about chordoma and found out that it's a very unique, very rare kind of cancer. A lot of people want to be 1 in a million. Well, that's what this chordoma is. It makes you in that category. 1 in a million people come down with it annually. And really the only way you can find out anything about it is to go to the Chordoma Foundation. They have the most information. Okay,
so Faruq, I want you to tell me, when you found out, what was the reaction that you had and how did you find out? Just tell us about that. It might be a little difficult, but go back to when you found out that you had cancer, the big C, as people like to call it.
It really took a long time to identify what it was, because I have a documented back injury and was having a lot of pain in my back. And so I and all of the doctors who were working with me at the time was looking at it from that perspective. It was only when a radiologist discovered that there was a mass growing on my spine that we found out what it was when they did a special MRI of my sacrum. And that's when the chordoma was properly identified.
So how did you feel when your doctor said to you, Faruq, you have cancer? I mean, what emotions, what happened then?
I went into shock. I had a copy of my MRI report, and it took me at least a half a day to read it. And so when I began to read this MRI, I realized that this was one of the most devastating explanations I had ever seen. So I really went into a form of shock and denial at first.
How difficult was it for you to let your immediate circle know about this?
It was a little difficult. I elected to go the open route because I felt it was best that people be educated about this and not try to hide it like most men are known to do. And so I actually copied the MRI and sent it to my family over the internet, and that opened up the door of discussion.
I know you had a major surgery because a lot of us were a part of a fundraising effort that we had when we knew you were going to be hospitalized for that, and it was a very risque surgery. Tell us about the whole experience.
Wow, now that was a very powerful one, I must say. I went to some doctors at GW here in Washington, D.C. They gave me 3 options. None of them were good. The first option was bad. I'll just simplify it. The second option was worse than that. And the third option was an expedient deleted. Don't even say this for TV. And so at no point did I receive any indication that there would be a favorable outcome. And they pretty much said, walking dead man. You know, I realized that we're going to leave here under some kind of way. I didn't think it was going to be cancer, though. I felt myself to be the kind of person that would not die slowly.
Okay, and the 6 months to live thing, how you felt about that?
I was angry that they actually had the nerve to put that in writing and didn't tell me first. You know, hospice come knocking on my door. Sir, we come to your rescue. What are you doing? What? Who are you people? And they just barged in my home. Well, we got authorization from your doctor. You do. And they gave me my doctor's names and they showed me the signatures, and I was really pissed that they did that. And but they had given up on me. You know, and I was like, wow, that's deep.
But so, when did you have the surgery? And tell us about the whole recovery process and all of that.
Well, it was April 15th, 2009. The tumor had grown so large that they had to remove my entire sacrum and my coccyx. The doctors had predicted I wouldn't be able to stand, let alone walk, and that I would need to undergo radiation therapy immediately. Otherwise, I would be dead within 6 months.
And
well,
it's over a year.
Yeah, I went to our community, and I'm here to bear witness that when we get behind the cause, prayers do work. Love and support does make a difference, because when the doctors came to see me after the surgery, they were all just standing around looking at me, and I'm like, what? What? And they said, well, we don't know. What do you mean you don't know? They had no explanation for how the surgery turned out the way it did. And that was the position that they took, and eventually discharged me without trying to provide me with any kind of explanation.
Wow.
From that time forward, I have seen approximately 25 doctors. All of them have discharged me. As of this year, 2010, I again had 2 doctors put in writing that I had less than 6 months to live. That was 6 months ago. I'm still here.
You're still here. Okay, so the doctors told you had 6 months to live.
Yes.
That was 6 months ago.
That's correct.
What's going on with you now? I mean, I think you're not really able to work. Tell us about how it's crippled you, for want of a better word, in terms of your movements and your employability and that sort of stuff.
That is correct. I think crippled is a very good way to describe it, because I have very little control over my body at this point. I'm unable to do any kind of work. I'm 100% dependent on other people. And I'm into my 2nd week of radiation therapy, which is a very devastating process to go through. I have at least another month to have treatment. So this is a very stressful time for me right now. You know.
And you pretty much have to be driven around. Are you able to drive on your own? Do any?
I have a very short distance. I can drive maybe 5 or 10 minutes from my home, and that's it. Right now, because of the medication, I can't drive at all. They have increased my pain medication by 100%. And I take a lot of medications every day, but at this point, the medications is so powerful that I'm hallucinating. I'm having out-of-body experiences. I see Jimi Hendrix all the time. So it's you know, it's just a very trying period for me right now.
So are you on medication now?
Yes, I am.
You're not hallucinating, are you? You know you're on Pep Talk, right?
You know, I think the thing that has inspired me about this whole experience is that when it comes to the work that I do, then I come alive. I am as alert and as astute as I could possibly want to be, and the contribution in that area is not diminished. So that seems to be one of the clearest answers that I can come up with as to why I'm still alive. That there's still something else for me to do, because technically I did die twice in 1 week at the end of 2009. And they restored me back to life, and I kept wondering, why am I here? So I think that question has been answered, because when you go to the UNIA, the work that we're doing with dual citizenship, this stuff just, I mean, I shine. Out of that, I'm a vegetable.
Okay. And talking about help for Faruq, a bunch of people came together. I know your daughter was instrumental in doing this, and some other people. And of course, we know the whole radiation thing is very expensive, taking care of a life-threatening disease like chordoma, and there's a website that was created for you to try and raise funds to help you with your medical condition. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I am very grateful to have this website. A person did it who I didn't even know. It's a son of a friend of mine. I've since met him, and of course I knew him as a child, but didn't know what he was doing as an adult. And my daughters got involved in sending out messages, trying to solicit funds. It's not just for the radiation stuff. It's a lot of the alternative treatment that I'm also trying to deal with. The holistic doctors I'm seeing, the acupuncture, the herbal medications. All of that stuff is very expensive, and I need help with that.
And we want to thank everyone who is listening, everyone who has donated to the site so far, everyone who is there at the drumming to try and put out some libations and positive energy for Faruq's recovery. And as we can tell, he is not a dead man walking. He's very much alive. He's here with us today.
Very much.
Very vivacious,
yes,
might I add. No form of sickness if you look at him, but he is undergoing radiation therapy. Again, if you would like to help Brother Faruq, the website is www.faruqfund.com. All right, so we want to thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
And I thank you for having me. You know, you are just a continuous source of inspiration for our community. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you for watching Pep Talk. We'll see you next time.
Example of black nationalism. He worked relentless. His mind you couldn't imprison. African world vision he displayed so consistent is the template for African independence. So in remembrance of the ships he set sail for trade, the millions of Africans to back the decisions he made.